This show is brought to you by Celltech MD, the leader in regenerative medicine, balancing your body from the inside out. Tony, what is up, man?
Hey man, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Welcome back to the A-Town, ATL. How was Florida?
Man, it was amazing. I didn't get to go last year, but I went the year before, and
Same here.
it was
Same
just
here.
really
Yeah.
good to be back there again. I mean, it was amazing weekend. That's all I can really.
Let me ask you, do you like it better in Orlando or in Vegas?
I like it both places, and the reason why I like it in Vegas because Vegas is more adult Disney World. I like it in Florida because it's regular Disney World. So
Actual Disney World.
Depends on what you're trying to do. This time I just straight work. So I got up in the morning, went to the expo. After the expo, went back to the room, ordered food, and got the pay-per-view. I like to get 8 hours every night, at least 7. And that whole week I was getting like 5.5, 5 hours. So I just wanted to, be comfortable as soon as the show was over. Then I went right to bed, jumped up and did it again. And then I caught an early flight, which I really didn't mean to. And I didn't know it was daylight savings changing either.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, wow, okay, I got that extra hour.
Here's my question. Did we actually save the daylight? Has the daylight been saved? Because we had daylight savings time, but did we actually save it?
Well, you save it in the summer and you lose it in the winter. But it does, like I get up at 5:30, 5:50, somewhere right before 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark, completely dark.
Yeah.
I had to go to the house. I don't want to wake everybody up. But now, the sun is starting to come up, right when I'm leaving. You know what I'm saying? So
but now the problem is that it's dark at 6 p.m.
Yes.
I remember I told my fiance, I was at 6 o'clock. I'm like, oh, it's dark. And at 8:30, I was like, I'm ready to go to bed. She's like, Justin, it is 8:30. I'm like, yeah, but I'm tired. Like,
exactly.
It's the sun, the circadian rhythm is just like, ugh.
Well, I think we're supposed to do that. It's, I'm saying we're supposed to get sleepy earlier in the wintertime. So that way you can get up early in the morning and get whatever daylight that's available.
Yeah.
I mean, you are talking about vitamin D and health and all that type of stuff. So, people in the Northern Hemisphere, they tend to, get unhealthy and have low vitamin D in the winter. So, that's just something to think about. And I'm glad that at least I think that's why daylight saving time, other than business.
Yeah.
Because so as soon as you get up, it's almost daylight. And then as soon as you get off work, it's almost dark, time to go to bed or whatever. So.
It's definitely good for the early risers. I can definitely see that. But then obviously a lot of people in the industry, or a lot of people just in a lot of industries, they're not getting up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. anymore. They're getting up a little bit later. And right. Then, the evenings and stuff. We do a big haunted house. If you guys follow me at all, you know that I'm really big on Halloween, and we had a ridiculous haunted house this year that we walked. I gave out tickets this year in our townhome, and not including trick-or-treaters, but Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday, we walked over 900 people through my house. So we're cleaning up this.
So your house is the haunted house?
Yeah. So we walk them straight through the living room into the kitchen and then out the garage. It's mainly the garage, and then we have a big tent out back. So it's mainly the garage. But this year we did do the entire house, at least walking through that. Yeah. So over 900 people, legitimately. I've said it for the last couple of years. Like, I feel like there's blah, blah, blah on Tuesday, but I've never counted. But I bought tickets this year to hand out to people to see who many people. And we had hundreds of other trick-or-treaters. I'm not counting them. But it was awesome. As a matter of fact, we're going to probably do the clubhouse next year. But I say that because, that was Tuesday. Well, I've been taking stuff down and put it up in storage since Tuesday, and we're not anywhere near done. And it's been, when it changed, we were, all right, let's go put this in storage. We'll come back. And I'm like, holy crap, it's dark outside in my back driveway. I'm like, I can't even put all this stuff up. We're just going to have to leave it out because it's just so dark. We're ready to go home and go in. But so all that aside, I know we got a we're very pressed for time. You and me, we've got some stuff that we've got to do, but I wanted to get you on here as soon as possible because this is time sensitive. And wow, what an Olympia! So I want to talk about bodybuilding specifically, guys. If you guys don't know, this is 100% a bodybuilding podcast. It's all about the Mr. Olympia. Tony, you got a chance to actually be there. I was supposed to go down, I didn't get a chance to. I'm really bummed out. Next year we will be in Vegas for sure, because we wanted to do a podcast live as it happened. But I want to hear your thoughts on everything. I want, I know that you follow mainly open, but obviously classic was really big this year. We had a big upset. Well, maybe in your opinion it was or wasn't an upset in 212. And then some interesting things happen even in physique. So where do you want to start at, Tony?
Man, just let it rip, whatever. I mean, we can end with open, and I guess we could start with.
We'll start with the smallest guys and we'll end with the
men's
biggest guys.
physique.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think of Ryan Terry after a decade of trying finally gets his comeuppance?
Well, he looked the best.
Yeah.
And so, to be honest with you, I know that sounds weird, but he looked the best. He deserved to win. If somebody else was better, then cool. But they weren't. I mean, he literally nailed his condition. He was full. He was dry. He was tight. Handsome dude.
Prettiest guy. Told that he's probably one of the prettiest humans on the planet. Like, yeah. I mean, and now with him being the physique, that just kind of adds a feather to the cap, right? They always knocked him on his arms. I feel like he definitely has brought his arms up, and his posing was a big thing that held him back. And he even mentioned that in the post interview. Do you think that it was more that Brandon and some of the other guys were off, or do you just think that he just was that much better than in the past years?
No, I mean, Brandon, he looks great. Poses confidently, all that. Other dude was just better. Now, it could have been just better that day, and that's really what's important to me, is for the athlete that looks the best that day to win, because you might not never see him look like that again. So if somebody nails it and you don't give it to them, it's gonna do something to their mindset, to their psyche. Because you think about it, if you nail it, right, and even if the person is genetically better than you, but you nail it and they don't, if they beat you, if they placed in front of you, what do? You see what I'm saying? Like, your only shot is to bring it to the stage. That's your only shot.
Absolutely.
So that should be, well, first and foremost, guess what? Guess what's going to happen from them picking the best? The other 2 or 3 are going to come back better than ever, because they should feel like, wow, if I'm nail it, I can win. And so as an athlete, you're 17 weeks out, 25 weeks out, and you're about to do your cardio or whatever. If your mindset is, damn, I'm training for third, you know what I'm saying? Because the first and second is already taken. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to give your best? Your subconscious won't even allow you to.
Well, in physique, I feel like those guys aren't going to have that mindset because the title does transfer so much. It's very much so like the bikini, you could have the Miss Olympia come and lose a regular show because it's so, competitive and back and forth. I think it's as you get into some of the other classes is where you start to see the dominance. And since we're on that, I'd like to push forward now into the 212 division. So do you think, Sean Clarita, I feel like most people would say that he was a pretty dominant champion for his time where he was at. I don't think a lot of people really saw this coming. And you were talking about if you nailed it. So what is it that you consider nailing it? Is it peaking just in the condition? Is it more the roundness? Is it, I mean, obviously I know there's got to be a combination of things to come together with it, but when you're looking at someone, man, he nailed it. Is it the pop? Is it shredded glutes? Like, is there any one thing that you're really looking for?
All of those things you said, and and then the icing on the cake is your presentation. So, I always tell people, trying to peak for a show is like trying to hit a moving target while you're moving. You know what I'm saying? So Sean,
everything's on fire.
Yeah. Now, Sean's issue was he was up against the most visually pleasing physique probably within 1,000-mile radius. You know what I'm saying? Like, other than that, he was the champion. So the fact that that there was 2 competitors, and I would say both of them nailed it for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, Sean is a little harder. a little more polished as far as muscle maturity and hardness and density and all that. And then Keon is just put together so well that if he comes in condition, your eyes are just automatically going to lock on him. The way he presents it, the way he poses, you know, Sean got my vote according to how bodybuilding normally is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at it from a business aspect, right, you have to add that factor. So in other words, all physiques are equal. Now you got to go with who's the most, you know, handsome or marketable or charismatic or whatever. You got to come up with some other variable to pick the winner. And this weekend was like, I'm at, you know, Carvel ice cream, and they got the chocolate and they got the strawberry and they got the vanilla, and then they got the ones with the sprinkles. It's just all of it's good. It's which one do I want? Which one is going to make me come back for more? Which, you know, blah, blah, blah. Those are the things that, you know, besides the physique, those are the things that the judges had to consider. And so that's the person that's going to make it launch forward more was Keon. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you're gonna start. Listen, we're going to start seeing physiques that we've never seen before. There's a lot of really put together people who don't compete because of the past, you know, the way that it was judged or not judged, or the politics or whatever. As they nail the judging, as they pick the best person that day, year after year after year, you're gonna make people that know they got it but don't want to go through the politics. My son, personally, he was like, the reason why I don't bodybuild is because of the, you know, the way that they did you for so many years. Now I tell them, you know, don't let that bother you. You're different, blah 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 blah. But it is something to think about when you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he watched me for 30 years compete, and he saw when I deserved it and saw when I didn't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So as an athlete, as a person that's going to bust their butt to achieve something, if you know you can, if you bring it, you're going to be rewarded. And like I say, if somebody's better than you physically, you don't feel so bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, conditioning and all that, work ethic, all that, that's one thing. But if somebody's structurally, you know, superior or whatever, you're going to do your best to beat them. But if they're conditioned and you're conditioned, it is what it is. I got to dap Sean up and hug him and all that. And like I say, it was probably a 1 or 2 point decision. You know what I'm saying? Because it was more, do we take the person that's younger, that has more, you know, he has more, whatever you want to call it. The crazy thing about that is he's going to have to fight him off every single year. So in other words, if he slips even a little bit, it's going to go the other way. So
I feel like the 212. Yeah, I feel like the 212 division is definitely, you know, one of the most competitive divisions. I want to push back on this for a little bit, because can we agree that Sean was the more conditioned of the two athletes?
100%.
Okay, but we can also agree that Keon won over in the shape division, obviously, right?
Shape, aesthetics, and his conditioning was on.
But do you think so? If we talk about, you know, conditioning, muscularity, balance, or aesthetics, or, you know, whatever that word that you want to say, symmetry, if all things are a third of the pie, Keon was clearly winning in aesthetics, Sean was clearly winning in conditioning, and then, you know, who was the more heavily muscled person? I would say that Sean was. Now, to me, I prefer Keon's physique 100%. You know, I almost see this as a, and I don't want to make this sound like derogatory, but it's like a miniature Coleman versus Flex back in the day. But they had, back in the day, Coleman won, Flex lost. This is what would have happened if Flex would have won, in my opinion. I love that he won. You know, he's a homegrown, you know, guy, you know what I mean? I don't personally know him, but a lot of my good close friends are good close friends with him. So I love that he won. It's just interesting to me that they did pick that. And now my question to you with this specifically, and we'll move forward into classic after this, is do you believe in the old adage that you have to knock the champ off? And if you do believe in that, do you think that Keon actually did do enough to knock him off? Or do you think it's more of the political kind of like social type of thing that they're doing?
I think he did enough. we're just not used to it. We're not used to them putting everything aside and looking up there and saying, well, this guy is better for these reasons. Let's choose him, even though the champ was on, and we really can't say anything other than potentially this guy will be better. Let's just say they're even right now. One has the most muscularity and condition, the other one has the best shape aesthetics and equal condition. I mean, I won't say it's equal condition, but it didn't look the same. You know, Keon didn't look as
Keon has
hard.
that thicker skin. He's just not going to look as peeled and yeah.
Right. He's also, that's all new muscle as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's all new muscle. So it's just not gonna look as hard as Sean. It's just not. So
well, congratulations to Keon, man. You know, well deserved. He's definitely put in his time, you know, going back and forth between, you know, 212 and classic. I think he's obviously found his place here. You know, will he ever go up into open and be like another Sean or another Derek? You know, that's yet to be seen. But for now, I love that he's there. He's very young, and I hope he takes the reins, and I hope he grows the division. I'm glad that they haven't gone away with this division. I know a lot of people have questioned it and not having it the Arnold and things like this or whatever. But I think this is a division that's still needed, me personally. So I want to move forward into classic, because that was kind of a big story. And, you know, we found out kind of a bombshell at the end that, you know, our now 5-time classic physique Mr. Olympia, Chris Bumstead, tore his lat 10 weeks out from the competition. Now, a couple questions for you, Tony. A, do you think that this was a best Chris that we've seen? Do you think that he's comparable to last year, et cetera, et cetera? And then also, do you think that now with this bigger weight class, you know, the shorter people having more weight, do you think that they will be able to close that gap, or did this year solidify that there's nothing that they can do and he's the standard and it's just going to be like that till he quits?
He is the standard, but his structure, his height, his whole package is you know what I'm saying? Like if one thing was like not as dominant, like he's dominant in like several different categories. The height, you know, he's extremely handsome, extremely marketable, extremely charismatic.
20 million followers. Like what?
Yeah, very personable. I mean, he's tall, dark, and handsome. You know what I'm saying? Like he's kicking all the boxes. And now the crazy thing is he's being pushed. The guy, Ertz and Ramon, those guys are pushing him hard. So that's what you need and what you want. And if he slipped, either one of them could surpass him. But Ertz is a little ways away. I think his upper body needs to come up a little more. I saw a video of him walking, you know, off stage, and his delts and arms, just his whole upper body needs to come up. It's amazing, but I'm saying you're trying to beat Chris, so it needs to come up a little bit. I'd like to see that. Ramon is really, really knocking on the door. It's just Chris' structure is just superior. Now, I didn't even notice the lat tear.
Me either. Last
year, I noticed the bicep, but he's doing something, because it's not. I mean, I wish I could have hit my pec like that. I mean, I couldn't see it. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like a lat might be a little bit easier, but yeah, I mean, his back, if you looked at his back from last year to this year, going back and now knowing what we know now, you can see that he had lost maybe a little bit of density in it, but I think he was better, you know, everywhere else. You know, I mean, his front shots just look perfect.
Yeah. His side chest is game over, bro.
Yeah. He's got, I mean, you could put that side chest up against any open competitor and he'd be
any side chest ever. It's just the way it flows, you know, his little squared off jaw, and just the whole thing is, I'm just like, damn. Like, I would have loved to compete in that situation, because he would have made me really, and I wouldn't have had to, you know, because I had to get up to 300 pounds. If I could have stayed in the 265 range, whew. Yeah. You got to understand, the bigger you get, the more blurry your physique is going to get, just by nature.
Did you see the video of him with Samson? You know, because that's a good example, because, you know, you're about the same size as, or you were about the same size as Samson is now, as far as height and weight goes. And, you know, Chris is maybe an inch taller than Samson, but looking at them with clothes on, you know, it's hard to tell that Samson is 60 pounds heavier than Chris. And that just kind of, in my opinion, goes to show of how well Chris is put together when you can weigh that much less than someone else and still not look small standing next to him. We're talking about one of, if not now, the biggest guy in the open class in Samson Dauda. You know, and like I said, at least with clothes on, Chris is very, you know, structurally, you know, sound and comparable to him. I do want to say that I think that Dino improved significantly this year, and I do think it was closer this year than it was last. Do you agree with that?
Very cool. I mean, no, the only people that would have been upset is Chris's camp and a lot of his fans if Dino had won, but they couldn't have said anything because he looks the part. I mean, he looks amazing.
His back came up tremendously.
Yeah, he's smaller. I don't know if he's right at the weight limit or whatever.
I'm not sure. I don't think he's 6 foot. I want to say he's like 5'11".
Well, they're not the same height. They're not even they don't weigh the same. I'm saying like Chris could be 10 pounds heavier than him at least, minimum.
Probably, yeah.
Because every inch is like 7 to 10 pounds or something.
Yep.
So he probably
But what I'm saying is I think that the weight increases gave Dino Ramon, I believe it gave him 7 pounds, whereas Chris only got 2.
So when you go to the airport and you check your bag and it's 28 pounds instead of 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And you take, you know, a pair of shoes. That's what Dino was having to do. He was having to leave some muscle at the crib. You know what I'm saying? Like he couldn't bring it to the show. So, you know, if they keep on, me personally, I think I understand the weight limit, but they don't have it right yet. In other words, they have it so the athletes won't get out of control. But I'm like, you don't have to have a weight limit. As soon as someone doesn't match the criteria and they can't compete, you won't have no more problems. You know what I'm saying? They could weigh whatever. Like I weighed literally 293 pounds. And to me, I'll consider myself classic. You understand what I'm saying? Like because of the look, not because of the class. And so I think when classic gets to that point to where all the athletes meet the criteria, when they remove the weight class, that's when you're going to start seeing the 90s physiques again.
I agree. I mean, you know, it's definitely not weight. I mean, you can look at somebody, you know, just like you said, we were just talking about Chris and Samson, you know, it's not all about the numbers, but I do think that, you know, obviously they're trying to move, I think Phil, he said it, you know, move the goalpost back a little bit further for Chris. You know, but I mean, I think this, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, he's not being lazy. He's, you know, he's no stone uncovered. I'm curious to know what you think about Terrence this year, because he was off last year. We thought it was a fluke. He came back. He did great in these other shows. Was it the Arnold that he did in? And now he has the biggest weight increase, even being taller. So I think he even had over 10 pounds that he was able to grow into. Do you think he utilized those 10 pounds better? He did place better this year. But did he look better at the Olympia than he did at his previous shows in the year?
Probably. I think so. I didn't realize he had that much more. So in other words, you're saying his weight class allowed him to have 10 more pounds this year?
So I believe the weight class was, and I'd have to go back inside. I'm sorry to everybody listening if this isn't accurate. Yeah. So what happened is that he was in the shorter weight class, or he was in the shorter height classes. So that gave him more poundage there. But then also because he didn't have to diet down so hard, like the fat in his feet were there again. So he got an extra inch or a half an inch to bump him into the next weight class. So I want to say he got maybe as much as 14 pounds to swing, but a lot of people were saying that maybe he wasn't quite as tight as he should have been. And, you know, maybe he just tried to come in and play the size game. I don't know. I mean, I thought he looked great. Terrence always looks great. Big fan of his. You know, like we talk about like weight class, I think he is very much so classic. We haven't really mentioned Urs that much. Like I feel like Urs just needs to go into the open, because when you see him in the offseason at 270, he just looks more healthy. But Terrence,
how he loses that much arm and delt.
Yeah, it's crazy. He looks so crazy 8 weeks out, and then he gets on stage and he's lost all his pop.
Well, you see what I'm saying? Because he has to make the weight. So, wow. So that's really his downfall. He has to make the weight. So
with his, it definitely was. So it helped him here, but it didn't help him get a place better. And I think just Dino is structurally put together that much better. You know, I don't know. I personally think that Dino's Dino's a physique that most people would probably prefer to have just walking down the beach above everyone else. But a lot of it has to do with his arms being so oversized. And I almost think that he needs to stop training arms a little bit, and he needs to maybe, hit the squats a little bit more. Because, it's not that his legs are small. It's not that he's necessarily lacking anywhere. It's that his arms are so overdeveloped. It kind of makes everything else look a little bit shrunk.
Yeah, it does detract. He's beautiful, you know what I'm saying? But yes, because in this game you got to find out what's wrong, what doesn't match, or what can be improved. And his lower body, if it was a little more dominant like his upper body is, then Chris might be in trouble. Yeah. I really like his separation and detail, as probably better than Chris, especially from the front. Like Chris's quads, I don't know what that is, but it doesn't.
I think he had a torn quad at some point.
Yeah,
and look, Dino's got a smaller waist. Like I said, I mean, I think if you stand both of them, not in the front relaxed, but just literally standing there, seeing him walk down the beach, most people would probably prefer Dino's physique over Chris's. But when you get them in those poses, Chris is so dominant, and that's what maybe people that are just casual viewers of the sport don't understand. It's bodybuilding, it's the posing that, the judges can only judge what's in front of them, and they're judging those poses, they're judging the mandatories, they're judging all these different things in the side by side. So but congratulations to both of them. I think it was definitely closer this year than last year. I'm excited to see what happens next year, because if Dino improves as much as he did this year, again, I think it's going to be very difficult for Chris to get that three-peat. But I want to move on and talk about the open class, because I know there was a lot of stuff that's gone on in the past 24, 48 hours about that. And I want to get your opinion on that. Obviously, we have a new champion, yet another, athlete of Hani Rambod's. And then we had Hadi in a very, very good conditioning. One of the best packages probably that we've ever seen from him. We had a brand new, probably one of the best Samsons we've ever seen. A lot of people really, really came into finals just looking fantastic. Do you think that Derek deserved to win? And if so, explain to me, your reasoning behind that.
I'm going to go back to the ice cream parlor, and I'm standing there looking at all three of them, and it reminded me of that Neapolitan ice cream or whatever. It's like chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. Which one do you want? You know what I'm saying? I'm a Samson fan because he matches me more, right? I'm a Hadi fan because, number one, he's amazing. His conditioning is ridiculous, and I thought he should have been Mr. Olympia 5 years ago.
3-4 years ago. Yeah, so, absolutely.
So for him to win last year, I was like, yay. But I saw that he was being pushed, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now they got their, but now you got 3, 4, 5 people that could be number one if you wanted them to be. Samson could have won, and no one would have booed for sure. It would have been a lot of people, saying, oh, what about the other two? Blah, blah, blah. Well,
the Iranians would have booed, but that's about it.
Yeah. They picked who is going to accelerate the sport the most right now. So to me, Dexter won. I mean, not Dexter. I'm Dexter. To me, Derek won from the back, hands down. Hadi won from the front.
I don't think we've seen a back double bicep that good since Phil Heath, maybe. And I think he rivals Phil Heath.
I said that, but I think it's even better than Phil's.
I was going to say, I think he rivals Phil Heath.
He feels best and his best to say that.
Yep.
I mean, to even say that is crazy. You know what I'm saying? To even speak the words that somebody might be better than Phil or as good or whatever is insane. And so the fact that we watched Derek win the 212 2 years ago, I was sitting on the front row, and then to see him deserve to win the I mean, because if the way history is, it shows one from the back. It's usually decided from the back. I won't say it's one from the back.
You're right. Yeah.
I had to rewind the tape on the last few Mr. Olympias, and Dorian was always pushed from the front. Sean, Flex, Kevin, they all, Nasser, all gave him hell from the front. And then he turned around, and then, okay, Dorian, and then y'all.
Yeah.
And then Ronnie, the same thing. Lee Haney, the same thing. So if you're going to stick with what we all, cut our teeth on and was raised on, When you turn around, that's going to separate you from the other ones. And it did. It did do that. So I think that the judges got it right. Now, yes, is there controversy? Of course. And a lot of the pros saying that Hottie's conditioned, but they're judging it from the front, because you can't say Hottie was the same condition from the back as Derek. You know what I'm saying? Like Derek,
he was, but so here's the thing, and we got less than 10 minutes here, so I want to wrap this up. But there are a couple things that I want to get your opinion on, because, you know, first of all, I want to know from your expert opinion, how in the heck can somebody be so peeled and so hard? I've never seen graininess like that in the glutes and the hamstrings from the back, and then still somehow seem almost like he's off on the front in that front position. Is that a cortisol thing? Is he holding water from stress in different areas? Like, what is that?
It's new muscle.
You think Derek's chest is muscle?
All that stuff is just new. You know what I'm saying? When he was,
why is there such a discrepancy though? That's what's confusing to me.
Because
like in his back to his front,
it's just not settled. You have to understand, he probably focused on crazy glutes and backside because everybody knows that's how you win. He had the shape. You know what I'm saying? So watch this. This year, he's going to focus on the front. Sure. And it might require him easing up on the back. Maybe not. I mean, Hani knows what he's doing. So, but that's not, you got to understand, next year, that's not going to be an issue, because if you look at him in his prep, when he was coming through, it was all there. So when you start manipulating water, the old settled muscle is going to stay, and the new muscle is going to be iffy. If you take too much diuretic, you're going to be flat. If you don't take enough, you're going to be spilled over. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that, it takes years for that to become you. That's why most the pros back in the day only gained 2, 3, 4 pounds a year, because if you gain more than that, it would mess up your conditioning. And so that Derek is having that issue. How old is Derek?
Oh, he's young. I think he just turned 30. I want to say.
Gee,
he's still really young.
Yeah, he's young. The deal is with him is, and kind of like me, when I was 26, 27, my glutes was striated just because I didn't do nothing for him. You know what I'm saying?
I've never had
so that's his gift. That's his gift. He's gifted in that area.
Yeah, for sure.
All this up here is all. If you look at the picture, they showed a picture of him from 2015. He had zero upper body.
Yeah, he had the structure, but he wasn't thick. And he is thick there. It's just a little, honestly, it's just the striations.
It's new.
He's missing those striations. And, you're standing against somebody that is the most crazy shredded like, there's nobody that's more crazy in a front muscular than Hottie.
Right.
I mean, it's just insane where he's at. Even, we've been talking about them. I want to talk about Samson. But putting the cap on that with Derek, like, it's just those striations. If he can get that up, I think that he'll be the most dominant. And I do think that it improved a little bit this year from last year. He's coming in from 212, and hopefully another year of him being able to just kind of focus on that. We'll be able to see it, like you said, be a little bit more mature. We'll see a little bit of the more those, striations, and he'll be even more, dominant as a champion. But what in the heck does Samson Dauda have to do to win the Mr. Olympia? He was not the most conditioned guy there, obviously, but is that what it is? Does he just need to get that much more shredded? And can he, or is it like a Flex Wheeler type thing? Or, like some of these other, some of the African guys that have the thicker skin that they can get lean, but they don't seem to get that last bit of shredded glutes in and things like that.
Because I'm tall, right? And because I had thick skin issues later on, he needs more time in the zone. So he did the Arnold, and I don't know how much time he took off, probably not that much. But if he had just went straight from the Arnold back into contest prep for the Olympia, that would have given him enough time. Now, in reality, you got to travel and you got to do all that stuff. So that's why I competed so much, because that's what kept me in the game. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew I was always, no matter what time of year it was, I was always 6 weeks out, literally. And I'm not telling him to do more shows. I'm saying to stay in the zone.
Do you think that if he loses and he gets more shredded, he's going to lose that kind of, because he's a naturally bubbly guy. He always looks full. And I think Milos went on record. He was saying that he dieted for 16 weeks for this show. So, I mean, that's a decent time diet for
25 to 30 weeks is
Wow.
what he
Yeah,
really
then you
needs.
think that's what he
But
needs.
the first, you gotta understand, if you do 30 weeks, the first 15 is putting on lean muscle. It's just that you don't allow yourself to go either way. You're
It's kind of a
staying.
maintenance.
And so by the time he gets the 16 weeks, I'll give you a perfect example. I did I don't know how many shows. That one year I did like 7, 8 shows, right?
Yeah.
And then the year we did the Masters Olympia. Well, so we did the Olympia, and then a couple of weeks later is the Nationals. A few weeks later is the Nationals, right? So we're at the club celebrating the Nationals, and Dexter walks up to me and is like, "Yo, bro, they're doing the Mr. Olympia Masters in December, right?" So I was like, "Whoa!" So I just stayed in the zone. You know what I'm saying? Because if I had to like chilled out for a minute and then try to get ready, I wouldn't have been right. That was some of my best conditioning ever. Not because I did anything different. It's just I stayed in the zone. And
So yeah,
then
you didn't push it hard, but you kept it on. Because I think a lot of times when the guys push hard for a long time, that's when the body starts to get tired.
you don't need to push hard. You just it's almost like driving 100 miles an hour straight. You're you're cool as long as you don't try to turn. You know what I'm saying? Like when you turn, you got to make adjustments. But if you're going straight 100 miles an hour, it's no big deal.
I love that
You know what I'm saying?
analogy. That's great.
So
Do you think so? So talking about more about that because like, we're about to wrap up here or whatever. But there's one or two more things that we want. Crizzo, Hunter, and Andrew Jacked. Do you think that they ended up where they should have been? And do you think that they were improved from last year? And if so,
Crystal
how
got
much?
seventh, right?
He got seventh
Got
this year.
seventh.
Here's the thing, though, is that basically if everybody that was out, because we had Ian retire, we had who else was Bonac was gone. We had Nick was out. So if you would have taken all the people out that did come out, he would have already been in seventh. So he didn't technically improve in placing. He just improved in the placing because of just logistics or whatever you want to call it.
Right, of course.
Circumstance.
Of course. And to be honest with you, that's really at this level, that's all you can hope for because now he's one of the 10 that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And if somebody like Brandon or Nick, you know what I'm saying? Like Crizzo is like inching his way, just like Andrew was last year. He inched his way to where he can leapfrog into the top 5, even though it was it was only because of Nick. Nick wasn't here, so Nick could have been 5th, 4th, and then Brandon could have been 5th, and then Andrew 6th, or something like. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving respect to Nick because that's where he was last year.
Those pictures that Nick put out, man, it looked like he was ready. It looked like he would have pushed Hottie and he would have pushed Derek. Absolutely.
If Nick had been in the show, we might be having a different conversation.
Could have gone a lot different. But I will say that I feel like Andrew was the most improved just as far as in placing. He jumped up quite a bit and he was he 5th this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So to be in that first call out, that's huge for him. And I think that he's only going to grow there. Well, Tony, we've got to go. We've got to wrap it up here or whatever. I definitely want to have you on again, but thank you so much for coming in and doing this on this insight. Is there anything else that you want to close with as far as things that you think that happened or something that you want to say about any of the competitors?
Well, I saw Steve Weinberger walking through the venue and I grabbed him, hugged him, and just was like, thank you, bro. They're really doing a really good job with the judging. I know in my day I used to criticize it. And if you notice, it's completely, I won't say completely different, but it's a lot different now. You know what I'm saying? And they're doing all the things that, that I felt like would be good. And again, they're not doing it because I said it, but they're doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
The worst to first and, the last man standing, that's what's going to drive this sport. And I think next year we'll see the best out of everybody.
Awesome. Well, Tony, it was awesome. We will talk to you soon, man. Thank you again, brother, for coming on. And you guys make sure you subscribe, like, and share with all your friends for all the latest updates on fitness and health. We'll see you guys on the next one.